Hey guys, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We're just dealing with a little bit of housekeeping stuff right now with the probe that I'm trying to get to intercept the asteroid that's already around Kerbin. So I'm just doing some adjustments to its course, trying to get it to catch up at a certain point. It's in a lower orbit, so it's going a little bit faster. So I'm trying to get this to a point where I can phase the orbit so that we'll actually get an intercept. It's a really elliptical orbit, so it's a little bit weird and difficult, and I've never done anything like this. So it's taking me some time to get all the necessary adjustments done. But you can see our orbit's a lot lower. I'm trying to phase so that we get up closer to it, and then eventually we'll get into the exact same orbit of it is the idea. And I don't know, like I really don't know how I'm gonna do these when they are on interplanetary courses and stuff, but it's kind of lucky that this one was already here in orbit of Kerbin, because it gives me a chance to practice intercepting, and we'll figure it out from there. So anyway, what I was doing here is just trying to figure out when we would get our closest approach, what it would be, and then I adjusted things and got to a point where we get into a resonance orbit with it, or more or less, where we could speed up and catch up. So it was not fun to do, but eventually we got something tweaked here, and the game's interface keeps kind of glitching out on where our closest approach is actually going to end up being too. But anyway, back to the space station. We're bringing in the first of the crew transfer vehicles, the moon shuttles. These are going to be transporting crew members back and forth between the space stations that I'm going to construct around the Mun and around Minmus. So there are going to be two of these, but we have the first one coming up to park and give the crew a little bit more room to hang out for a while, I guess. We got the two guys on here. So it's a pretty typical docking procedure here. I'm going to have to add more docking area onto the space station because it's a little bit crowded, because every crew that's going to come up to the other space stations is first going to come to this space station. So I only have to use like a minimally small crew transfer vehicle to get them from the space center to the space station, and then this shuttle will stay permanently in orbit and just go back and forth between the two space stations. So there needs to be room for all of the crew transfer vehicles that are going to be bringing crew to the space station. There also needs to be room for these shuttles to come in when they need to, because sometimes they might both be here at the same time and that sort of stuff. So I want to make sure there's plenty of room to dock everything that I need to. It won't be as much of an issue at the Mun station as it is here, because there'll be less traffic coming and going. So I'm naming these MTVs, Mooner Transfer Vehicles, and this first one's going to be named Copernicus. I'm going to name the ships are probably going to, at least these shuttles are going to be named after famous astronomers and scientists. I like to give names to ships. These ones are not coming back down, so they're real starships. They get names. Hopefully the game will remember. Sometimes it has weird issues where it forgets what you name things, but hopefully it'll remember. So it's just a pretty, standard approach here, and get this bad boy docked up and giving it a little bit of a boost so we can get going a little faster here, because it's taking forever. And here we come in on the final approach here. Like I was saying, we're gonna have to deal with getting a better docking thing. There's an airplane flying really low over my house right now. You can probably hear that in the recording. But so that's one of those transfer vehicles I was talking about there on the left of the main ship there. So I kind of want to have those things all parked on one side, and then these shuttles parked on the other side. But it's starting to get kind of crowded and busy up here, which I like. It's starting to actually have people living in space. Very exciting. And these shuttles seem to be working fairly well. I haven't actually gone to the Mun quite yet with one of them. We will later, but I think the shuttles are going to work out just fine. They're relatively fuel efficient and all that, and we'll probably improve them further. So I'm launching a second one. This one's going to be the one for Minmus primarily, and it's just, so the same exact thing, so I just cut it out here. So we have them both up here, docked, and like I said, it's starting to look like stuff's going on here, so that makes me happy. Now, as far as the space station goes, we're going to be launching a module here. I'm doing post-commentary again, so I'm trying to remember which module this is. This actually looks like Yeah, this is the core of my MUN station, I believe, that I'm putting up right now. And basically, the idea is that we're going to end up with a space station, well, probably several space stations around Kerbin, and then one around Minmus and one around the MUN. The one around the MUN is primarily just going to be doing keythane mining, that sort of stuff. And we are going to have some shuttles that are specifically built to transport crew members down to the surface of the planets too. So they're going to have room for fuel ships to dock sometimes, supply ships, and then it's also going to have room for a small shuttle to ferry people down to the surface and back up again. So, but this is just kind of a basic start of that station here. So we'll get it up into orbit. These giant NASA engines work really, really well. The big fuel tanks, it kind of makes it a little bit too easy to do a lot of this stuff, but you know, at this point we've been launching stuff for quite a while, so making it a little bit easier is not a problem for me. So we're setting our course out to the MUN, and again, this has just been done a billion times, so we'll go ahead and just cut forward to when we're actually here. And as you can see, we ditched the main stage. We actually left it on a collision course with the MUN and then separated so that we won't have space junk. And the lighting engine is kind of glitching out a little bit, but we're actually entering our orbit here. And we're going to go into a lower orbit around the MUN, but I just wanted to get into a standard orbit here first. So basically this this station is going to be designed a little bit differently. These are I'm going to design smaller space stations probably for for Minmus rather, but each place will probably get its own unique design based on what I actually intend to do there. So I'm just kind of orienting this around, you know, in the direction that it will be going here, so we get some idea. And this first section really only contains, it contains a probe body, and then it also has some radiators and communication stuff. It doesn't have any power generation ability of its own, so this is going to be just kind of a dead thing floating here because the batteries are going to die on it until we bring something else out here. The next stage will have some solar panels and batteries and that sort of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and crash this thing into the MUN now. And there's no fuel tanks where we could leave all the fuel behind. Usually I like to leave fuel. It's one of the ways I refuel things. But there's no fuel tanks on this thing, so couldn't leave the fuel behind here. So we just wasted a bunch of fuel crashing it into the MUN, but whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and deploy these, I guess. I don't really know why I did, but might as well. I guess I didn't. I've been putting these map things on every one of these just so that I have better access to information about the surface when I'm on the space stations, because I believe as long as there's a part of ScanSat, a part that is part of ScanSat mod, it will continue mapping as long as that ship is loaded. So I wanted, for the times where I'm going to be using the space station for a while, for the satellites that are mapping to keep mapping. So I put one of those receivers on each of my space stations so that when I get more advanced instruments and stuff, we can just kind of work on stuff, not have to focus on the satellites. It's one of the great advantages of ScanSat mod is that you don't have to focus on the satellites, but that way we can kind of keep an eye on our progress and stuff with that too. So everything's all crooked here for some reason, but we get stuff deployed, got the communications turned on, and of course, like I said, their batteries are going to be a problem for this thing, so it's going to end up just being floating here on its own, but that's all right. And it's not too much else going on with this thing. It's a little hard to, there's no lights on this section either, so it's a little hard to tell what I'm doing exactly. I think I'm just targeting the dishes and whatnot. I am just targeting the dishes and whatnot. Make sure that we don't lose communication here. There are a couple lights on it, but I can't leave them on for long because of the lack of battery power. So that pretty much takes care of that. This is the next part of the station, and I'm breaking my rule here. Usually I've been trying to build things that fit inside of fairings, but it's so annoying trying to line up solar panels that I'm just launching the arms like extended already, because I just don't feel like trying to deal with the nonsense of getting things aligned perfectly more than I have to. And it's light enough and small enough that it's not really an issue. It'd be a horrible aerodynamic thing in real life, but with base Kerbal, it doesn't matter. So we're bringing in the arms of the station here, and it's pretty much the same procedure, to get here. So I just cut that out because we've been in the mun a million times by now, and we're just sliding in. Gonna come in and dock this thing, and we'll actually be able to leave everything on at the station now. It'll be operational. I really like MechJeb's docking ability, that it can force rotation. Makes it way easier to get a space station to come out kind of nice looking. So I very much appreciate that they've added that. And these big docking ports are pretty awesome too. There we go. Starting to look kind of space station-y already. I need to come up with names for these stations. I haven't done that yet. Names are important to me, sort of. Like, I don't really think about them too much, but it is nice to have names for them. It makes them feel more complete when you're done building them. So it's kind of a squattier design. It's not laid out. This one's laid out more vertically than horizontally. So there's going to be like a central core kind of going down. And for the most part, everything's going to come right off of that central core. So everything is all booted up and powered up here. Get an idea of how much solar power we're going to have. I am going to be putting reactors on this thing. So really, I didn't need the solar power, but I've been putting the solar panels on the space stations for a while now. They just make them look better. And it's nice having a backup power source, I suppose. Like in real life, you'd probably want to have a backup power source. And solar power is free and all that. Now, this next section that we're launching, what is this one? Oh, it looks like it's a docking array. It's got a cupola module in the middle there, and then it's got a couple of docking arms. And again, we're just skipping straight to the docking, getting this thing assembled out here. And this is what it looks like. So it has 2 docking ports, and it has the observation area there as well. And for some reason, I guess because I left MechJeb on, when I disconnected that, the Smart ASS flipped out and made it crash into the space station. It didn't hurt anything, so it doesn't really matter. But a little bit of a scary moment when I saw that thing starting to tip over there. You got to remember to turn that stuff off when you disconnect, apparently. And again, we're just crashing this straight down into the surface of the mun. And now the space station's flipping out because Smart ASS has decided to rotate it around. It actually has like a decent amount of torque for a space station. It's not too bad. Turns around pretty quick. Kind of unrealistically quick with no thrusters, but whatever. Not everything has to be 100% realistic. Okay, so we are launching another component out here. And I'm not entirely sure what this one is going to be. Like I said, I recorded most of these a really long time ago, like probably like 3 or 4 months ago. I had a big hard drive failure, and it took a long time to recover data from the hard drive. It really slowed down my Kerbal Space Program recording. And I usually use 2 discs in a RAID, in mirroring. But in this case, I needed one of the discs. I borrowed it for a little bit, and wouldn't you know it, that's when the other disc failed and had all these bad sectors and stuff. So it made it a lot harder to recover all my information. But I got most of it back. There's a scene in here that is actually missing. There was a couple of files that were corrupted and couldn't really be used. So once or twice there'll be something that wasn't used. And if we jump ahead a little bit, that would be why, because of that. And we're just finishing up our orbital insertion here. And separate. It's really dark. I can barely see what that was. I think it was possibly a life support for the space station. I actually don't know what that was. This is a crew transfer vehicle here that's going up, though. It's going to be bringing crew up to the space station. So we're actually going to transfer them from Kerbal straight over using our transfer vehicle. So this is how this system is more or less going to work. The Kerbal space station still doesn't, like I said, doesn't have all of its docking arms. So we're actually going to use the docking ports on the side of the ship here to transfer crew over. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more orbital gymnastics, so to speak, with this than I usually will have to. because there's just not enough free docking ports. I could have docked, I guess, between the solar panels there, but basically this thing needs to be parked where that other ship is right now. So I'm going to dock, transfer the crew, back the other ship up, and then redock this with the space station. And it's part of the reason I put those docking ports on the ship. It seemed like it was a good idea for the transfer vehicles to have some ability to dock on the sides and stuff, so that we can dock them with, you know, things that aren't really anticipated. I like to throw in extra docking ports on stuff like that because, you know, it's one part. You don't really know what you're going to need exactly always in the future. Like, you know, you might end up needing to use a vehicle in a way that you hadn't really anticipated. So I like to throw in the extra docking ports just to make life a little bit simpler for me in the future if it's necessary. These ships are probably going to be obsolete because they don't have any of the interstellar fuel system stuff going on. But considering the fact that they're just in orbit around Kerbin and, you know, they're just going to be ferrying back between the Mun and Kerbin and stuff, I kind of don't really care. I think I'll probably leave them in service, even though there are going to be newer, better versions that will be available. It's you know, they'll work, is kind of what I'm thinking. Fuel isn't a tremendous issue right out here, so I don't care if they have the latest, greatest, most efficient thing or not, because it's not critical here. So we did some fuel transferring there is what I was doing off screen when we had a little jump there. And now it's time to just start backing things apart, and we'll back this ship up. Then when we get clear of the station, the small transfer vehicle will undock from this and redock with the space station next to the other crew transfer vehicle. We'll just undock right now, I guess. So everything's flying apart. And I think the other ship has enough momentum now that it's going to just back up on its own. I'm not really going to give it any more thrust because I don't want it getting all crazy out of range and stuff, because we're going to have to do some maneuvers with that in a minute. But I'm going to just wait till it's clear enough that I can slide in front of it and dock. It's kind of majestic in a weird way. And at this point, I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm just making sure that everybody's there that's supposed to be there. Why would I send somebody outside? Oh, because I think I needed another crew member or something. Oh, because the pod, that's right, the pod didn't have anybody in it. That's what happened. I kind of remember now. The other transfer vehicle didn't have anybody actually on board, so I needed somebody to be able to pilot it. It's kind of an oversight on my part. Might need that. Crew's kind of important. But it gives us a nice chance to fly by the shuttle here. It's kind of big. It's, you know, it's a smallish ship, but it's bigger than anything I've built so far. It's actually up here. Let's go ahead. Oh, tumble. No. Random not being able to grab onto stuff well. This would not be the best way to do something like this in real life. It'd be a little bit dangerous. But like I said, I'm going to be bringing another docking ring up to this ship, so in the to the space station. So in the future, this won't be necessary to do it this way. And one of the reasons I wanted those docking ports on the side too is if I want to do crew transfers just in orbit without going to the space station, it gives me the ability to do that as well. Generally, I probably will go to the space station because we need to get fuel and stuff, but like I said, it's nice to have that flexibility. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing all oriented correctly and let MechJeb handle this docking. I'm going to have to probably manually fly over just so that we're clear of the other ship, because MechJeb does not take into account if there's something in front of you or not. It just always assumes that everything is perfectly clear. So I'm going to manually fly this thing over, get it more or less lined up, and then let MechJeb take over from there. And we'll just close down the docking ports and whatnot and back off a little bit further. I have to reset my target probably, which I think I forgot to do. There we go. I really like these real shoots parachute docking rings. They're much better for these kind of ships. I'm still having issues. But eventually we get it lined up. MechJeb actually started malfunctioning quite a lot at this point. I think, like, I don't know what happened exactly. It was some sort of conflict between Remote Tech and MechJeb. So I ended up having to fix that later. I'm actually doing this manually, I believe. So I'm going to end it here for today. When we come back next time, we'll get the Mun shuttle out actually to the Mun station, and we'll have a crew out there. So we'll have 2 crewed space stations. So I want to thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.